Welcome to Becoming Awesome with Peter D.
Hey, you beautiful souls. This is Peter D here. This isn't going to be a channeling today. Spirit's been nudging me all weekend and working with me to give a teaching today. So, hopefully you're going to stay around for the end. We're going to be talking about what you can do to get the most out of your clearing processes, how to get past the resistances that are out there so you can really transform when you put your effort into doing a clearing process. Got lots of information, maybe a little longer than usual, so please stay around to the end. And I just need to tell you, I'm going through a lot of trepidation sharing this, and Spirit always laughs when I say this, but here it is. I'm saying it because it's important for me to be authentic. And when you do your processes, it's important for you to be authentic. So what I say may sound a little controversial, but roll it around. You're going to find what's right for you or not. One of my best teachers said, "You make your bed and you sleep in it." So you're going to make your choices and you're going to do what's right for you. And maybe some of these tips today can help you. So I've got a lot of notes. Let's take a look at this. We're going to be looking at 3 phases of preparing and following up on a clearing. What to do before you try to clear a blockage, what to do during clearing, and what to do afterwards. Now, there are many different modalities and healing techniques and many different ways to clear. And they're all good. They're all good. Just because I teach certain ones that I'm familiar with and comfortable with doesn't mean that these other ones out there aren't great. Okay. You've got to discern. I've been trying to teach inner authority for a long time. That's really the sign of the new age where we're going. It's no longer what the good book says or what the teachers, the great beings of the past said. It's your inner authority, what your divine expresses says. So if you feel drawn to a particular process, you meet up with somebody who does some kind of energy work or some kind of clearing work, and it resonates with you, then it resonates with you. Follow it. Go there. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So this is not to say do this or don't do that. You'll know what process is right for you. This is to help you with all your processes. Now, the first thing is before you start, what kind of mindset are you going in with? Okay. So you have to understand that even though another person is acting as an intermediary, they're acting as someone to help you. The clearing takes place inside of you because of your relationship to your divine. So they can facilitate that. They can open it up. They can put you in connection with it. But ultimately, it's you and your divine that is making the changes in you because you have authority. Okay. And that's what I really want you to understand is that you're going to do this. So how do you participate in such a way that you allow them to do what they beautifully do and help you get in touch with that inner divine? Now, first of all, I want you to get out of the Western mindset of you see a doctor and they give you a pill and then everything's better. Because that whole thing about, oh, I'm going to go and take my beautiful medicine and now I'm going to be well. You guys realize that doesn't really work, right? And it's just look at how many people take medicine to cover for the problems their medicine causes, or how many people take dozens of medicines and nothing still seems to work, right? I remember in college, I came across a beautiful study, which of course, Western medicine and the media that's funded by it doesn't want to tell you, but they looked at cultures all across the world and they looked at how people do healing. Shamans, acupuncturists, herbalists, all around the world, all the different traditions. And they looked at how they did healing and they found out that they had about the same success rates. So what they did is they judged what person went in for a problem. Did the person report that the problem that they went to see the healer for was solved? So it didn't matter if you had Western medicine or if you had, Chinese medicine, or if you had a shaman or any of that, a faith healer, they got about the same healing rates, which goes to show that it's not the particular methodology being used, it's what's being brought to it. And in this case, it was faith. Oh, I believe in the white coat. I believe in, this kind of thing. And that's why you get the results you get. And so what I'm trying to tell you is that that works with your own individual healing and clearing. You're going to get the results you believe, i.e., allow. Allow is so important. to happen is what's going to come to you. But you can't go in there with the idea of, oh, well, I saw this guy and they took care of it, or I saw this lady and she did there and they took care of it. So for those of you who are still looking for that effect of, oh, I went and saw the doctor, did my pill, I want to share with you my magic wand. Yes, this is a magic wand. I bought it at a circus in a tent, a big top and everything, because I was so excited when I saw the kids playing with one. I said, I got to have one. And so look, here it is. For those of you who want that clearing and that healing without doing any participation, and here we go. You're healed. You're clear. You can leave now. So if you understand, I'm making a joke here, you understand what I'm trying to say about you can't just go to somebody and say, oh, well, you're the expert. You give me a pill and I'm done now. It doesn't work that way with clearing and healing and becoming closer to your source. You have to take ownership because you are the inner authority. Okay. Now, the next point I want to make is how willing are you to do what's necessary? That's really, really important. When I teach classes, I teach about being a hero. A hero is a person who does what is necessary. A warrior is a person who goes to the end of the line, doing whatever it takes to achieve their goal. And some people freak out by those words. Oh, those are scary words. They have fights in them. And I'm like, well, sometimes you got to look at what's inside you and realize that you're just going to lay down there and maybe you're not going to get anywhere. Are you going to be a hero and a warrior for yourself? And I bring this up because recently I've been getting a whole rash of people, and me and my wife are doing a lot of sessions now. And pretty much our schedules are full for 4 months. So get on the waiting list if you would like to get involved with a one-on-one coaching or clearing session. Lots of people show up and they bring this resistance with them, and I've seen it take two forms. And both of which are why they can't. The old why I can't. Well, I can't do that. And well, if you can't do it, you can't do it. Then, like my teacher said, you make your bed and you sleep in it. Okay. And so here's the expressions I've been getting. One of them is the way we work to move charges is we give them physical expression. So you give voice to it. So you say what's there. So if you got your chakra in your throat is blocked, usually around anger and stuff like that, you go, oh, and let out what's been held there for so long. That physical release creates an opening, breaks loose the dense energy, and then spirit can slip in. This is so important, allowing spirit to replace what was there with something better. They can now slip in because you have free will. They can't do it without your free will. And they can then change it, put new programming in, put new energy in. People say, oh, I pray for this. I pray for this. I really want it. I really want it. Well, Spirit's like, well, do what you need to do to get it, which is let the blockage out that's keeping me from helping you. Okay. So I'll work with people. I'll spend an hour with them going through all their blockages. Okay. Now you're going to have to sit there, let it out. And then they'll sit there and say, well, I can't let it out. And I'm like, why? And they go, oh, my neighbors. What will my neighbors say? And I'm not making this up. I've heard this repeated times in the past couple of weeks. And I'm like, seriously, you just told me you got 40 or 50 years worth of suffering, and you're willing to continue with another 40 or 50 years worth of suffering because of what your neighbors will think. Talk about giving your power away. Holy guacamole. My gosh. Oh. I'm like, well, so what are they going to do? Get you arrested? And some of them are like, oh, well, you make your bed and you sleep in it. You've got this lifetime of these problems. You can identify them clearly, but then you're willing to let them. Really, what I think is going on is the mind is kicking and telling you, oh, no, 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 I got to keep control here. So we're going to keep this worry, this what if of what the neighbors will do. For all you know, it might trigger them into a release where they start to cry and sob and get their release out. You know? That's a big thing. See, yeah, if you can't do it because of other people, well, then you can't do it because of other people. God bless you. Live the life you live, and then keep seeking out. Oh, I got this problem. How am I going to solve it? And you just spin that around till you realize that you're in a dead end. The other thing that comes up is this loneliness thing. This is quite interesting. Many people are reporting, I'm just isolated and I'm lonely. And so then we do a review and we go deep into the isolation and loneliness. And almost always there's some abandonment issues. They were not loved and received as a child when they were young, and they felt isolated, like they didn't belong. And behind that is always, I'm not worthy. I don't deserve to be loved. I'm not lovable. All that stuff is in there. And it's a big heartbreak. And I go, well, you got to let that out. And they're like, oh, I can't. And I'm like, why not? And I'm like, well, I'm just alone all the time, and I'm like, well, why don't you just go meet some people, go out, and that'll trigger you, and then you'll be able to release it. And like, oh no, I can't meet people, too scary, too scary. And then this is the part, the teaching point that they don't get often is, as within, so without. As within, so without. The outside world is always a mirror, always a reflection of what's going on internally. So if you're saying you're lonely out here, there's no people around you, then how do you think your feelings and emotions are? Because they're their own consciousness. And if they've been suppressed and pushed back all this time, then they're going to just say, oh, yeah, this is how it is. I deserve to be alone. I'm hopeless. I'm never going to get better. And that's what the programming in the unconscious is, because that's what the emotions are being treated like. You're keeping them at bay, not letting them out, keeping them alone and isolated, and then wonder why you are alone and isolated. Okay. So, and often this turns into addiction, and it's a very simple solution. You join NA or AA or whatever it is, and you're immediately with a group of people who will sit there and help you, because they know that their sobriety depends on being able to help others, because as you give, so you receive. It's the law of the universe. And so all of a sudden, you're going to be with people who are going to love you and accept you for being afraid and alone and like, too scary, must stay alone, because the mental programming keeps you in the mindset. The mind wants to keep control. So they won't take the step to get out of the addiction or just to even be around people. And so there you have it. That's what you get. It's kind of funny to me. So you're feeling alone enough that you want to reach out to me, but you need to do this in the dark, alone and quiet. And everybody says, oh, well, you just got to let people go at their own pace. And I'm like, yeah, their own pace is going to take as many years or lifetimes as it's going to take. And they came to see me, and I'm the kind of guy who says, wake up, let some light in. So, if you're not with that kind of energy, then, you got the dark places you can hide. That's all I can tell you. And it's like you make your choices and you live with them, and there's no right or wrong. It's what's right for you, because you're sovereign, and that's to be respected. Now, that's what I wanted to talk about, what's going on before you make a decision to get a healing or to allow a healing. You don't get a healing. Nobody gives you the healing. I mean, they give it to you, but it's all about you receiving and embodying it. So it's a joint participation. So I want to talk about what's going on during the process. And I've recently been studying the Sistine Chapel. And at the top of the Sistine Chapel on the ceiling is this beautiful painting of God reaching out a finger and Adam being there. And Adam's like this. He's like this. He's like, oh. And I'm like, holy cow, what a lazy ass. God and a host of angels and cherubs are there to help him, reaching out his hand, and he can only do, oh. Now, maybe he's wounded and broken and crippled, right? But heck, if that was me, I would stand up and go, whoa, God, yeah, take my hand, please. Let's go. Take my hand. I mean, at least stand up and offer out your hand is all I'm trying to say. And I was talking to Michelangelo, because I can channel and I can talk to people. And I talked to him, and he just laughs when I go through this. He's like, yeah. I wanted to put a message out that would keep those who understood, had eyes to see, they would see it, and also keep the church from killing me. Because this is not the dogma of the church, right? Where it's like, oh, claim your inner authority. They're like, no, follow our rules, because we get big hats and vestments and lots of gold that we hoard in our inner keep and stuff. So you must listen to us. Sorry if I'm making fun of those religions, but I am, and I was raised that way. And so there you go. I used to go to a private Catholic school, and sometimes as a grade school kid, they'd have me run errands to the manse where the priests live. And I remember I'd go there, and I'd walk into the foyer, and I would be amazed at how ornate and elaborate and beautiful it was, and all the artwork and precious things I saw around me, golds, fabrics, all kinds of stuff. And this is just one little church in one city, right? In Newark, New Jersey. And then I would sit there and go to church, and they'd sit there and say, "Yeah, there's a lot of poor out there. Give us some money to help feed them." And it just, so I'm making fun. There I am. Anyway, now let's get back to the real topic of what's here. Okay. Adam, get off your butt. God's reaching out to you all the time. Spirit's reaching out to you all the time. If you would just stand up and take God's hand, then you would have the healings you're looking for. Okay. And when you go get a healing session with somebody, you're working with somebody who's been able to do enough inner work or has enough gifts and abilities to create that space where you can make that connection. And whether it looks like they're doing energy juju on you, or you do what I do, which is create a field and then invite the spirit into the field with you. And so you experience it that way. It doesn't really matter the how-to of it. It's all the same principle, is that you're opening up to allow to receive what is being trying to be sent to you all the time by your divine and your angels. Okay. So as you're receiving, one thing that's been helpful for me is to be aware of what's happening inside you. Okay. Now, don't go all analytical. Don't go all analytical, because if you stay in your mind will limit what can take place. But try to be an observer, just aware, like an observer, that this is taking place. Okay. And this has a couple of benefits. One is, when I do that, is I'm able to teach anything that's done to me, because I've observed it and experienced it. I can now do it. It's your own initiation just because you observe it, but also for your own benefit at the time, you then become a participant in your healing. Now, a lot of times it's just to let go and surrender and let spirit do its thing. But even letting go and surrendering, allowing, you have to participate to bring that in. So just be aware of what's going on. And as you're aware of what's going on, try to think of a touchstone. This is what I use. I use a little mnemonic trick. It's like, okay, so I just ask my body and my mind, okay, I'm in this field, I'm in this experience. I want to remember it. I want to remember the energetics of it. What can I do to get back here? And so either I ask to have a blueprint overlaid, to say, okay, this was super great. I'm going to pull back and let you do whatever you're going to do. And I need you to register how it's done while it's happening. Overlay a blueprint. Or I introduce some kind of mnemonic. My favorite one is pull my ear. All right. Depending upon which ear I pull or how I pull it, it takes me back to a certain energy frequency. Oh, yeah, that was what I did when I was in that frequency. Of course, you do it in your head. You don't do it while you're lying on the table or, on the internet. You just do the mnemonic. And then when I do this, I'm like, oh, yeah, now I'm back in that state again, because it's just a cue. It's just a little on off switch, back to it. So I input a mnemonic then that allows me to go back to that energy field. So I can continue the clearing or just play in it, which is super fun a lot. Okay. But sometimes you don't get everything in a 60 or 90-minute session or a 30-minute session. Okay. So now I can always go back. And then I could also use the technique on other things. Okay. So be aware of what's taking place, and then take some ownership so that you can get back there, whether it's through a energetic blueprint or a mnemonic or just observing. Okay. Now, I'm a big believer in knowledge of blockages and densities. Now, this is kind of a conundrum. This is one of those things where it's true, but it's also not true. See, when I do clearing work with people, I get them very focused about what their blockages are, try to own it, bring it from the unconscious to the conscious, because in my understanding is that we're mostly unconscious programs that were input between 0 and 6 that have just been running our whole time. And that's why we got 4 divorces, or why we're super rich. It's just the program's been running because it's been input, right? And now if you can go back to the unconscious and put in a new program, then you could start to create whatever you want to create. Okay. So I'm always being real aware of what's the programming. So I work with people to sit there and just invite your unconscious in and show me, tell me, allow me to see. And it takes a little bit of practice, but usually in any session I do with people, and after a couple of times, especially when I play the what if game, well, if this were happening to me, I might feel this way, or I might think that way. And they go, oh yeah, that kind of resonates. And then they run with it, and all of a sudden the information's available and they know what their unconscious programming is. You don't have to do 10 or 15 years of therapy, even a year of therapy. You don't have to pay $400 a session. You just have to go in and do a little bit of contemplation, get to your unconscious and see what programs are. Then you clear them. So I like to do that, and I like to be aware of that. Now, being aware of the blockage that I'm clearing is different than what spirit does to clear it. I be aware of it. I give it expression, let it out, voice, sound, movement, and all that stuff. I think I told you about that's my modality. And then I know that spirit's trying to help me and doing 90% of the work that I don't even understand. And it's putting in new programs. And it could throw me into past lives where it clears up stuff that was related, could have other related things in this life. Now, when you're with somebody who's doing energy work, they're doing a similar thing without the expression of, oh, I see it as this belief system or this pattern. They will often see it as energy fields. Okay, you got a red thing coming in, or I feel feminine energy here, or you got this thing over there, and they'll understand it through that language, and that's just as beautiful a language as what I'm trying to do. I'm just more, you know, I had to write a dissertation and stuff to get my degree, so I'm just more trained to look at things that way. That's all it is. Okay, so uh they will access it in the ways that they understand and explain it. And it's up to you to, as they're giving you those descriptions, to take ownership and say, oh, yeah, okay, so that is where it is in me. And that's what it is in me. And let your unconscious give you any other information you want to give by simply being the observer, like I said earlier, observing it as it's taking place. And then you become a participant in its clearing through allowing or letting it happen. Sometimes you do things like when I find a blockage, like a firewall. Firewalls are really common. They're programs that get placed in us that keep us from accessing other blockages. You know, it's like, I just feel like I'm going to die if I ever go there. It's like some kind of firewalls in place. So you make friends with the firewall, of course. And then once you do, you start asking it, you thank it, of course, for everything it's given to you. And then you ask it, well, what do you want? What do you need? You've been doing all this stuff for me, right? And often it just wants to be recognized and loved. And once you do that, it eases up. And then I always try to make a deal and say, hey, look, you don't have to leave because you've been with me and you've helped me my whole life. Because it's not about getting rid of bad things. It's no longer, you can't judge who you are that way. You tell the firewall, you've been with me my whole life, and I love you. And you know, but I want to get to some places that are new. I'm feeling this urge to get these new places, and it doesn't really work with what's been going on. So can I make a deal that, you know, I will try some of these new things, and if it ever gets to the point where I need your help, I'm going to ask you to come and be with me. And firewalls often love that. They're like, yeah, sure, that's cool. Let's try something new. And but they know they're not being kicked out. They know they're there when necessary to do what they wanted to do. And then once you do that, they'll start seeing things are going along good. And then you just say, hey, look, are you still want to hang out, or do you want to go back to the light and get repurposed into some kind of new creation? Do you want to become more and grow just like I'm doing? And almost always I'll go, yeah, sure. And so you just bridge them to say, okay, spirit, here's what has been in me. I see that you're just divine light here. Okay, firewall, here's that bridge I just built. Take it, follow it, go to the light. Thank you. Sometimes they just want a gift, like, hey, I love you. Here's some balloons to go on your way. And literally, it's like mentally, you give them balloons. It's like sometimes that easy. Okay. So, anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that you participate in it by acknowledging what's going on and allowing it. Okay. And that's the role you play. You're not just being lazy Adam. So, if you do all that, then certain things can come to you afterwards, which is one, gratitude. Yeah. And the most important forever, thank you more, please. Thank you more, please. So you stick with that gratitude. And that then keeps the new program running. It keeps the new program running. Because a lot of times people are like, well, I thought I dealt with this 20 years ago. And it's like, we're going to get to that in a little bit. But, you know, the reality is, you know, the old program's like a freight train going down the track. It's got a lot of momentum and it's going to want to come back. And if you don't do anything mental to allow the new program to grow and take solid roots, then you're going to get run over and you're just going to be who you were. And then you're going to wonder why you paid money for that clearing. Okay. So the most important one is thank you more, please, as you notice the little changes. All right. And it may not be, oh, magic wand, where everything just disappears just like that. It may be that you get a small opening and you have to be the hero who walks through the opening and then start to embrace the other difficulties that happen and work on those clearings. And then you embody it. A lot of people are like, what? I just paid you whatever. How come I'm not better? It's that old doctor gave me a pill mindset that I'm trying to dispel here. So thank you more, please. The gratitude for that will keep you on your path, on your growth, particularly those little bits where you start to notice the new you come out. Now, let's get into what happens after. After. Okay. We got to talk about mind here. All right. A lot of people think that mind is your enemy. No, mind is your friend. Okay. It's just that mind can be localized and go with a lower density of repetition and negativity. You guys know what I'm talking about. All that self-talk that said you're full of shit. You did this wrong. You should have done it better, right? All that. You know what I'm talking about. Or mind can be more universal with auspicious qualities, creativity, you know, the desire to become more. And so you got to see where you connect your consciousness to, because you have that choice. You're aware that you're not just, I think, therefore I am, right? That's what we've been told by the controllers for so long, to elevate mind to keep us in that trap, or elevate localized mind to keep us in that trap. You can say, I'm conscious, therefore I am. Or I cook, therefore I am. Doesn't really matter. But if you align yourself with consciousness, if you align yourself with consciousness rather than localized mind, you become bigger. And then things start to happen that will allow your healing to take place in a big, big way. Many people don't understand that mind is like that freight train I talked about. It's been running down the track for a long time. It's been happy because it keeps control. Yes, it's its own thing, its own consciousness and intelligence with its own feeling. And it's afraid of losing control. And it's been happy being in control. Now here you are changing things. That can be dicey for mind. And so as soon as the slightest little thing goes wrong or doesn't show up in the way you hoped it would, then mind's going to go, see, what you're doing doesn't really work. It's, and it's going to tell you all the stories and give you all the doubts about why you didn't. Now, you may only be getting small changes when you do your clearings. And if you're not doing the thank you more, please, you're not going to give them room to grow. But those small changes are itself significant because it takes as much energy in the universe to make that small change as it did the big change, right? It's just that was all you can allow in the moment. So that's all you got. And the mind's going to try, no, don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to me and my doubt. Okay. But really, you've got proof that it's already happened. I do this with so many people. I try to teach them muscle testing and stuff like that. And I go, are you picking up anything? Well, I'm not sure. And I'm like, could you cut the crap? You got it or you didn't. Now, your mind may not believe you got it or you didn't, but you got it or you didn't. And the question is, did you notice anything? And if you did, yes, thank you more, please. And if you didn't, no, I haven't noticed anything yet. All right. Now, I'm not sure. That holds out, keeps so many people from claiming their power. That's why they don't self-muscle test. That's why they don't do self-discernment. That's why they don't believe they can't be their own channel like I'm being here today. All right. And the doubt doesn't go away. I started this video by saying I had trepidation about doing this. It doesn't go away. Maybe when I'm in another density, it will, but I haven't experienced that yet. But I'm friends with it now. Oh, doubt. There you are. It's like grandma, this is what I do. And my grams passed. They both passed over 100 years old. So I never knew them when I was a kid because my parents were in their 50s when they had me, actually late 40s for my mom and early 50s for my dad. And so I never really knew my grandparents. So no offense, Grams. But the story I tell is, let's say you got a grandmother who's got Alzheimer's and she's sitting in the living room knitting, and you walk in and you go, hey, Grams. And she goes, oh, Peter, will you look at your hair? When are you going to get that cut? And then it's like, oh, okay. And then that shirt, do you see it's wrinkled? It's got a stain on it. Why do you wear that? Are you still with that girl? You can do so much better, right? And it just goes on. Do you need to eat? Right? Just goes on and on. And what do you do? She's your gram. She raised you. She loves you. What do you do? Because she's got Alzheimer's right now. You sit there and you say, "Oh, Grams, I love you so much. Thank you. Gotta go." Because you can't be in that energy and just continue letting that feed you. So when your mind's doing all that stuff, you got to go grandma on it. You got to go, "Oh, I love you so much. Gotta go." And then you choose to realign with your consciousness. And that has to be a conscious choice that happens, and you have to do that. Lots of people ask the question about meditation. How come my mind's not quiet? I'm like, oh no, you Buddha yet? You're at that level of consciousness. What do you think's supposed to happen when you meditate? Right? It's like, what do you think's supposed to happen when you get a clearing that you just walk out there and I mean, what do you think's supposed to happen? This is your process. So, if your mind's not clear yet, it's not clear yet. It's not quiet, it's not quiet. You know, you make friends with it. That's what you do. Okay. So you're understanding the mind, you're understanding that you're going to align yourself with higher consciousness. Now, I want to talk to you about dogma at this point. Yeah, dogma, because I'm getting this a lot. I grew up as Catholic, and then my mom and dad were in religious wars. So she would go to different conservative Christian groups. I call them cults, but popular religion. That's not what they call them. Okay, so she would do those, and then I would just get beaten by my parents because, like, oh, I wasn't following the correct religion. I was listening to my other parent. It was a religious war. Anyway, thank you, mom. Thank you, dad. Thank you, religions. You really got me here. And I can say that now because I felt all the pain of what happened, right? So I can actually say that. And there really is forgiveness. It's not just on that old teaching, you do the best you can, and they did the best they could. If you don't clear the charges first, then that just makes it worse when you try to throw that over the suppressed feeling. Anyway, so I can just respect and love what my mom and dad did, right? Because I've cleared my stuff. But I had to break out of all the teachings of the different religions. And I was raised in a religion where God would smite me. Hey, a lot of smiting was going on in the religions I was raised with. And so I was like afraid to express my anger, especially my anger at God when I got that deeply in there. And I remember I got sober at AA and I was eating lunch with a Navy chaplain one day. And I said, hey, this is going on. I'm really angry at God, but and he looks at me and he says, "Oh, Pete, God's big enough to handle it. Just let it go." So that gave me permission then to get out and rage at God for a while. And, after many placed well FUs to God, then I kind of got a good relationship because I got that out, And so now I can sit there and be as best God realizes I can because I got the blockage out. But anyway, I had to let go of all that teaching and dogma. And I get this all the time, about people being humble. I've just been trading emails back and forth with a beautiful soul about, well, Buddha teaches this. And then is this really right? Because it puts you so much attention on yourself and everything. And I'm like, great. If you want to follow Buddha, you should follow Buddha. But my understanding is that all the teachings from the great beings were given in the energy and the time they were given in. And we're in a new energy. It's moving so fast now. It's moving so fast now that a lot of those teachings may not apply to what's going on. And you have to, again, do your inner authority. Am I the one doing this decision? So one thing to sit there and say, okay, this doctor's not going to be the one telling me what to do all the time. I'm going to create my inner health. No, I'm not a medical practitioner. See your doctor if you think so. I'm not recommending that you don't do doctoring. I'm sitting there just saying that you know that you're a participant in it and you're not just allowing yourself to be moved in whatever way people of authority tell you to be moved. Okay. So just needed to put that in for the algorithm for YouTube. Anyway, so it's kind of how crazy our society is that we live in. Anyway, when it comes to religion, you're given all these different dogmas, this is the way. You must turn it over, your will and your life over to so and so. And I'm like, no, in the new energy, it's claiming your inner authority so that you can be connected to your source directly with no one intervening, telling you what or how to do that. And that's very difficult for a lot of people who aren't ready to let go of that. And again, that's part of how mind keeps you in control and how those who understand who are controllers in society use the nature of mind to keep us in control by giving us these strictures of you must do it this way and that way, and punishment if you don't, and damnation of your soul, at least in my religion, of where I was raised in, of that, or it doesn't matter if it's Buddha or Allah or everything. My understanding is God doesn't care what you call it. God cares that you call it. And when you're authentic, you're going to see that a lot of the teachings just don't really apply to this new energy. And you're going to have to figure it out. And that's what claiming your authority is. That's what literally moving into the place where you become one with your source is you claim your authority to be there, which means sometimes you put down the books and the teachings. Yeah. Now, one of my teachers told me something really interesting. He said, well, way back in the day, there were only a handful of awakened people on the planet. And so somebody who wanted it really bad would go on a journey for years and sleep in rough conditions and fight tigers and cross mountain passes to go see their great teacher. And then the great teacher would say, yeah, you did your work. Here, have it. And then there'd be another enlightened person, right? And basically, it wasn't like the enlightened person gave them that. They did, of course. But what happened was they did the allowing, they did all their work to clear all their blockages. And this was expressed physically as going to this great journey for so many years with all these hardships. That's how it was way back when there were only a handful of awakened, enlightened people on the planet. Energy is getting stronger. When I was going to Oneness University, we'd spend a month in process every day, just all day long, process, process, process. Some of them were really big purges, like they put puke buckets every 20 feet because, and then the people who had gone through before me 10 years earlier say, oh yeah, they used to give us bitter herbs to really purge and get this stuff out of you, to make little blockages in your body that were dense, make them break loose so spirit can slip in. And it wasn't like the oneness people were giving to me. They just knew how to break the blockages so I could connect directly to my source. That's what they were doing. So they were the helper, just like the healing session being offered. So what happened was it would take me a month or so, and bam, I could get enlightened, I could get awakening and stuff like that. Now the energy is even faster. You can do it online, like I've done with lots of sessions with many of you. Some of those transmissions I'm sending and stuff, you can do it that way. You can do it really, really quick. But the point is, you still have to clear your blockages. You don't need to go on a journey for years to the mountaintop, like days of yore. You don't need to spend a month where you're really just suffering a lot to really get in touch with and break free from your blockages. But you have to do what is necessary. And in my case, my understanding it is you have to give the amount of energy equal to the amount of the original blockage. So yeah, you might have a whole lifetime of pain and stuff, but if you can go back to just the source, maybe it was when you were a kid, when you're 6, and you said to dad, love me, and he was busy doing his taxes, and so he didn't. So you felt hurt in the unconscious program because you're 6, right? And you don't have to make sense of this. The unconscious program, I'm not lovable. Stuff in the world's more important than me. And it's just been running forever. So you just need to go back and apply the energy to that 6-year-old event, and it breaks it loose, or in a different lifetime or whatever. So that's really what I understand. Okay. So you can do this really, really quickly, but you have to be present to do it. And that means letting go of a lot of the strictures and teachings that even say you can or can't do it. Now, please accept that this is a process. It may not be a one and done. Well, I did that. I hear that so often from people. I thought I dealt with these blockages. Well, maybe you did. And maybe you're at a new level of it. Huh? It's like the old onion. You want to hear an onion joke? Okay. One of my teachers said to me, he said, so, you know how they say this is all like layers of an onion and you peel it back and you get to a new layer. Well, he said, if it's like layers of an onion, what happens when you get to the center? There's nothing there, but you cried a lot. Okay. So this may be a process. So maybe you're getting more that you were not able to allow before, and that's why it's not fully done. Or very often when I work with people, they haven't done the most important third step, which is replace it with something better. Whenever you clear, are you doing a replacement with better auspicious qualities? Are you allowing your divine to come in and reprogram your unconscious so you're no longer in that old energy? All right. And then, of course, there's the whole thing with mind. The train's running down, and you're going to go back in the rut of those tracks that's been going forever because you pulled the engine, you popped the clutch. So it's no longer driving the train, but it's still got a lot of momentum. So when it comes up, you just unconsciously go back there. And then after a few years, you're like, back to where you were. And you thought, but I thought I dealt with that. No, you let the train run because you did not choose to focus your consciousness on what you've become rather than unconsciously keep letting what you were dictate your reality. Okay, I know this is lengthy, but this is so important. Okay, so you commit to your growth, even if it means you have to do something more than once. And then um, understand that this is not just a spiritual thing. This is we're moving our bodies into the heavenly higher densities, into the higher realms. Uh, that means you got to use some body stuff, eating well, and that's for you to determine. Again, talk to your doctor. All right, exercising those good habits so your body's ready to handle this. And it may be difficult. It may be getting colds and flus. It may be sleeping a lot, maybe not sleeping a lot, okay? Because you're undergoing a transition from a carbon-based entity to a crystalline-based energy so you can hold these new energies. You can say, oh, got all this junk DNA. It's activating. And a lot of that's coming in your solar plexus, according to my wife, who's been tapping into that with many of her clients, saying what's going on in your solar plexus, right? DNA that was called junk is activating. And then etheric strands of DNA, it's not just two, it's up to 12. Okay, the etheric strands are starting to activate. So your body's going to have, it's going to take a toll. And just allow it, be gentle with yourself, create lots of times for rest, but also have whatever routine you do to eat well and stay exercised. It's important. It's going to make a difference in your life. All right. I've shared a lot of information in this, and I think it's just beautiful that many, many people are willing to be the hero and be the warrior and not just sit there. I got to do this one more time. Not just sit there and say, oh, you waved the at your mom. I'm better. You're taking responsibility for your clearing and your healing. I know when I put this out on YouTube, it's going to get less views. In fact, I don't want to curse it, but I know there's not as many people who are ready to hear what it's my responsibility and I got to do this. Because most people are like turning into me for, oh, I want to channel what this message tell me. At a certain point, you got to stop being a window shopper. So I'm going to erase that curse I just made on myself. Say not a lot of people are going to watch it. I'm going to say a lot of people are going to watch it because they are ready, and you are ready to embrace your inner authority, to be the hero, be the warrior, do what it takes, become more, and get the most out of your clearing sessions, no matter what methodology is being used, whether you choose to do it with me or anybody else, or just directly with your divine. Yeah, that's possible. I know lots of people are reporting they're having all kinds of breakthroughs just through grace. And you deserve that. You've done your work. It's happening. All right. Love to stay in touch with you. Please like, subscribe, put your comments below. There's a lot to discuss. So, yeah. And then if you find somebody who's in the blockage role or playing the victim role or the lazy Adam role, send them this. Worst that'll happen is they'll get upset. All right. Love you so much. Bye.